Sometimes I wish we could go back to a time when things weren't so complicated.
Welcome to the complexity of toilet paper, the podcast that dives into the everyday moments where we overthink, hesitate, or just get stuck.
I'm overthinking. I'm overthinking.
Let's hear it for the toilet paper!
Through honest conversations, unexpected insights, and a whole lot of humor, your hosts Phyllis Martin, Mark Pollock, and Al Emmerich are here to help you roll with it and make your life a little less complicated. One conversation at a time.
That's right, dude. The beauty of this is its simplicity.
Speaking of which, it's time to enter the stall. Put the lid down, or not, depending. Get comfortable, and roll with it.
Oh, worry not, dear friend. It's really quite simple.
This is the complexity of toilet paper.
I want you to imagine a life where you are a pet. Now, I'd like to ask you to think, first, what pet would you be? And then secondly, dear stallmates of the world listening to this episode, not only what pet would you be, but what life would you lead? Like, would you be the big Saint Bernard lounging on the couch? Would you be the cat meandering through the neighborhood, living life to the fullest, giving your middle paw and finger to everybody else? Or would you be the parakeet that just seemingly annoys the living shit out of everybody by repeating what everybody said? By repeating what everybody said, by repeating what everybody. These are the things that flow through the minds of Al, Phyllis, and Mark on our way to the stall of complexity. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and welcome to the complexity of toilet paper, the world of pets. What? This is like the most normal introduction I've ever done.
I don't think we know what to do with it. Phyllis and I are staring at each other going, what just happened here?
There's no like swirling toilet brushes or, bombastic, bold statements, no big voices. It's just a simple tee up to something that all three of us are very intrigued by and passionate about, which is the complexity of pets.
I'm not hating on it. I'm really not. No.
Okay, so Mark,
Yes.
If you could be a pet, what pet would you be?
Oh, if I could be a pet, I think I'd be a goldfish.
For real?
Why?
Yeah. I mean, they live quite the life. They have a 10-second memory. They float around. They get fed. Seems pretty simple. I think I would like that.
You would die in a bowl, though. You're too adventuresome, man.
You'd literally get flushed down the toilet.
You would. And some 7-year-old would swallow you and then poop you out like 22 years later.
Here we go.
Here it is.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Probably. Okay, so go to Phyllis, and then I'll think about what other pet that I could possibly want to be.
That's fine, Mark.
All right, Phil.
My answer is easy. I'd come back as any of the pets I've ever had. Very doting caregivers who give me all of their love, adventures, food, all kinds of soft places to sleep, all kinds of outdoor activities, all kinds of goodness.
All right, Al, what would you be?
I would totally be a dog, but I would be a specific dog, and that is a greyhound. Now, here's why. Here's why. I used to be an announcer for the Greyhounds. I used to call the races, and that in its own right wasn't like the best place sometimes for greyhounds. I know some people are like, they shouldn't have been, whatever. But when greyhounds get to live there.
Maybe not whatever.
Yeah, this is a good point.
Mm-hmm.
However, greyhounds get to run. They get to go super fast, but yet they still get loved on. They get fed. They can eat high amounts of calories, and they don't gain a whole lot of weight. And I would want to be a greyhound. And by the way, when I was announcing for we actually created an adoption program called Greyhounds as Pets.
Nice.
So say that. Anyway, yeah, I'd be a dog and I'd be a greyhound.
Oh.
Mark, before we get into the show, you gotta replay, or you gonna still be like the goldfish?
I think it's fine to be a goldfish.
I think it's fine.
It was
to
the
be a
first thing that came
goldfish.
to your mind.
Yeah,
This
I
is
think
We're not
about not
judging.
overthinking.
you know, goldfish, a cichlid. I don't know. They're like
He said it.
simple
He
animals.
didn't overthink it. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
People love their goldfish.
They do. They do.
People love fish. I mean, they're
People
fun
love
little
fish.
things. I love the water. I mean,
That's
again,
what I was thinking when you said it.
You know, how big could it be?
Mm-hmm. But
I love fish. I just wish I can't cuddle a fish, and I and if I did, it would kill it.
I bet
And
your people, Mark, who you lived with would put like a castle in your fish bowl. I bet you'd have a really cool fish
would.
tank.
I think I'd have cool owners who
You
put
would.
like really neat stuff in there. A little scuba diver, little
Yes.
scuba Steve with the bubbles that come out.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
You'd be
That'd great.
entertained.
I would.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Mhm.
Scuba Steve, is that a name, or did you just call him that?
Yeah, it's Scuba Steve. It's the little guy at the bottom of the tank with the bubbles that go up.
You'd get to
Yeah.
eat fish food.
Okay.
Right?
Well, Scuba Steve and Piranha Phyllis, no connection. You're not a piranha. I'm just saying.
Keep
Because
it up, and I might be.
we're about to become beta fighting fish right now. All right. So, stallmates, friends, joining us here on the complexity of toilet paper. My name is Al Emmerich.
And my name is Mark Pollock.
And my name on my dog tag is Phyllis the Great Martin.
Very appropriate. So why do we choose this topic? I just recently took possession full time of my dog, who I had shared custody with, my ex-girlfriend, and still very good friends, and we love the dog, but we were debating, what could we do here? And of course, it was like, hey, I'm going to keep this guy. But then for other reasons, her schedule changed, and it's like, well, I'm going to what do we want to do? And it was a really big, huge deal. And I went back and forth and actually had found somebody that might be able to care for him. And then it was like this last minute series of situations that happened. It was like God just put his hand down and said, this is the way it's supposed to be. I had already made up my mind. There's no way I can give this guy to anybody else. He's our dog. He's my dog. I've been with him forever. And then at the same time, the person who was going to take him wasn't able to. The backup wasn't able to. And it was just like, this was meant to be. And of course, I was filled with this elation of, yay, I get my guy's Cash. You'll see a picture of him. We're going to put him in the show notes. But there's a reality that came with this. And that is, oh my gosh, all this unconditional love also comes with unlimited responsibility. And of course, Phil, I'll let you tell your story, but you've got this wonderful dog who's so much a part of your life, and there's some challenges there. And so we were like, you know what? There's a lot of complexity to having a pet. And so we wanted to peel back some of those layers today, because we frame pets as these sources of, like I said, unconditional love, but they function really like these long-term dependencies that actually reshape our time. They impact our identity, our boundaries, our relationships. And so we thought, why not step into the stall and give that a swirl?
And I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but I kind of have a unique experience because I saw pets from a different perspective. I owned an animal hospital for about 8 years. So I got to see a different view of pet ownership from a clinical side. It was very interesting. Learned a lot. So you're right. There is a lot to pet ownership that people don't think about. And especially when it comes to around the holiday time when everyone's asking for pets.
Wow. Okay. So let's just kind of get started. Phil, I kind of gave my background with Cash. I've also owned a dog previously, Checkers, a fully white yellow lab who was named after some kids who were part of a exchange program from the Czech Republic. I sadly had to put Checkers down from cancer riddled all over his body. It was just heartbreaking. And of course, I had a dog When I was a kid, I had a dog that ran away. So I've had this connection to dogs. I've only had one cat. I'm not a big cat guy, but I loved this cat, and had her for many, many, many years. Her name was Diva, although I did kind of treat her more like a dog. So that's my connection to pets and my current situation. How about you, Phil? So people can kind of mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with dogs, cats, cows. My dad was in the cattle business. We had ponies for a little while. I've always felt very connected to animals, always, like my whole entire life. So I find that I find that each, pet I've had the good fortune of having has taught me different things, has come at different points of my life for different reasons. And I oftentimes think, I forget who I was talking about this with the other day, but like when I grew up, my dog Kelly, who I adored, it was, I think it was like a different time. And so people would open their doors, their pets would roam. You didn't have to have a fenced in yard. Definitely part of the family, but it was just, I think it's turned into something more, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. But I do think about like the different, and maybe I'm looking at it from a child's perspective, like a kid who has a dog. But nonetheless, I do think things were a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, I love animals and I'm very sensitive about them, period.
Marky Mark.
I come from a different perspective. So I was not allowed to have pets
What?
growing up. Yeah. My parents did not allow me to have any animals in the house. My grandmother had bought me a dog. I had it for about 3 seconds. Literally, she got it for me at the holidays and my parents made her bring it back. So I had a turtle for a couple of weeks that I had found at the marina, and I had some fish. But that's it. First pet I cohabitated with was, I was probably 24. So I did not grow up with pets. And so I love animals. I think they're wonderful. I am slightly uncomfortable with them in my house.
Even your cats?
I love my cats. They're great. But it's taken me 24 years to get used to having animals in the house, and there's still times where I'm not used to it, which is kind of an odd thing. But they're great. I love having them. I'd be sad if they weren't here. But I don't have the same. I don't have the same history a lot of people do with pets, where they have great memories when they were kids and have to have a cat and have to have a dog and have to have something in the home with them. I'm not wired that way.
And by the way, you may have heard in the background.
That was Finn on
That was
cue.
Finn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you may get Cash because he's been roaming around, but I had my microphone on mute. So let's just kind of look at this concept, because what drove this was choice, right? I made a choice or not drove this, but what started this conversation. I made a choice to kind of say, hey, yes, I'm gonna now take Cash full time. Some people I'm sure would say, well, you didn't have a choice, right? But I did. I had a choice. And that starts as, I want this dog, it's going to bring me joy. I'm ready. and when I thought about that, I was like, that's sort of like having a kid. There's no perfect time, to have a child. And I don't know that there's a perfect time to have a pet per se, because at the end of the day, you still have daily responsibility. You still have daily care. And for me, my adult children are all adults. I haven't had the responsibility of a child in many years, like as in 10 plus. Both of my parents, as many of you know, are gone. And so I've kind of had this, oh, hey, I don't have any responsibility in life. And just the other day, my buddy was like, hey, you want to go play pickleball after work? And I was like, oh yeah, I was like, oh, I can't. I got to go home. I got to let Cash out. I got to give him a walk. So I don't know if there's a question, but my question is, do you think that people actually realize when they get a pet what they're signing up for?
No, 100% no. I don't think they do. Even if you had it as a kid and then it's been many years and now you're an adult and you have a pet, it's a totally different thing. I think. That's my opinion.
That might account for why shelters are so flooded with folks who discard pets, or they say, I can't do this anymore.
Well, every kid at the holidays wants a rabbit. They want a cat. They want a dog, and then they get it home, and you've got to. I mean, there's things that you've got to do as a pet owner. I mean, you need to buy good food. You need to take it to the vet. You need to get a spayed or neutered. You've got. I mean, it's going to get sick. It's a living organism, and you got to take care of it. And a lot of parents are like, oh yeah, I'll get Susie a cat, and then Susie says, well, she'll clean the litter box and she'll do all the things, but then doesn't. And then parents are like, I don't want to do this. I didn't sign up for this. And they end up getting rid of the pet. And so I do think people underestimate the amount of time, effort, and energy and love that you need to provide this living creature.
I'm going to go in a different direction, Mark. And I agree with everything you're saying, by the way. I just think where the complexity, a component of the complexity of pet ownership, one component is that as people, we get very attached to our animals. They're completely dependent on us for really everything. Opening the door to go to the bathroom, food, help when they're sick, playtime. They take their cues from us. They have to be trained. They don't understand, like when we yell at them or if you raise your voice, what's happening. There's all of these things. But I think part of the complexity is we get very attached to them. And then that takes you down a whole different road. How is your life being altered? What are the things that you now find yourself both wanting to, but also having to do? You almost have a perpetual toddler for, if you're lucky, 12 to 15 to 16 years. And your life does change because of that. But you also get back, I think, an inordinate amount of love and joy as Finn is getting in to his... Not getting in, as Finn is in his senior years and has a little bit of dementia. He can't hear anymore. He's got some mobility things going on with his back legs. For me, he's in that time of life as I'm in the back third of my life. And so I found myself as this new phase of dog ownership was happening at the same time I'm getting older, thinking, what are the lessons here for me? Because I found having to step back for a minute and find peace and acceptance in who he is now. He is not the same dog he was even 3 years ago. He is an older dog. And so I find myself thinking about acceptance and how to create, parts of the day that he'll enjoy with either limited mobility or just where he is in his own stage of the world. One of my favorite things to do with him is go for a walk, long walks. And he really can't, maybe once a week he can do that now, go for a 2-mile walk. But he was like my best hiking buddy, my best jogging buddy. And I don't have that with him anymore. So in some ways, we're learning about that together. So, in some ways that is complex. It becomes a different relationship. I'm practicing, things like patience, because I hope somebody is as patient with me as I am trying to be with him at this point in his life. And Mark, back to your point, it's really not in this case as simple as I'm going to have a pet. And in some ways, if you open to yourself up to it, it is as simple as I'm going to have a pet. and my life is
Yeah.
going to be different. And that doesn't necessarily have to be overthought.
Yeah.
You just have to be ready for it or be awake enough to get on the journey, even if readiness is coming as you have the pet in your home with you.
I know this isn't the topic, but that was so beautifully stated. I really feel like you even gave us a glimpse into relationships in general, right? And how you age with friends, how you age with partners, and the maturity that comes as you both get older. That was beautifully stated. So thank you.
Well, I'm gonna even go a step further. This morning, Phil and I were having a conversation, and she said, "Mark, you'd have been so proud of her. She dropped like 3 mega mic drops, like megaton bombs. But the big one was everything doesn't have to be a thing.
Yeah,
everything doesn't have to be a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think about, well, there's 2 trains here. First, to follow up on what you just said, Phil. I've got Cash. He's 2 years old, so I now have him as a puppy. My thing with Cash is wrestling. We just wrestle the hell out of each other, and it is so much fun. It's like being a dad again with a toddler, with a young kid, when they used to climb on my back or I would wrestle with them. And it's just one of the things I look forward to. And I didn't even think about, wow, one day that's going to be difficult for him. So you need to enjoy it. And in that moment, I'm not thinking about what responsibility I have, where I have to take him. But yet, much like people, the complexity comes when you start casting ahead. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do this. And then it becomes overwhelming. And it's like, yes, there's a miscalculation perhaps when people make a decision to get a pet. They don't think through logistically. Like, hey, the right dog to get when you're not going to be home all the time versus the right type of personality that has to happen all the time, right? You got to make sure you're getting the right blend for your family and so on and so forth. But the actual day-to-day life, it's no different than having a child, and you're not gonna overthink that or want to overthink that.
Yeah, I was going somewhere with that, Al, because dogs, I think animals live more they live in the moment. And so what we hang on to for like an inordinate period of time, my experience of my animals is they just don't. They're just moving on. They just keep on. They keep on. And those are for somebody who admittedly is an overthinker, I can tell you a million times when Sweet Finn has just, whether instinctually or not, just has come up and like poked me in the leg or come up and just gotten on me and is like, all right, enough. Like, let's go for a walk. Let's go play. Go get me a cookie. Anything to like snap out of it. And just, this is really true. Tim and I have talked about this during like some, like when you're down in the dumps or something's not going right, how they do have the capacity to just help you move along with your life and your day. And yes, sometimes it's annoying. But most of the times I find it very like comforting, and it just makes me laugh. Like he just makes me laugh.
Let's flip over. If you look at the proliferation of dog bars, dog parks, dog treats, I mean, I remember a time when you went to the pet store and there was like one aisle for dog toys.
Remember Gainsburgers? Did anybody feed their dog Gainsburgers?
Yes.
It's like plastic molded food. But that's what we fed our dogs, Gainsburgers.
Well, it was funny because like Ashley, who was, I had the nice girlfriend who we had the pet with, she would just buy stuff. Like she'd buy this toy and that toy. And when we did the full formal swap, I'm like, this 2 whole bags of just toys and toys and toys. And I'm like, wow, where'd that come from? Anyway, my point is this. Is it complicated? Like, how would you describe, I call it complexity, because now you've got the personality. More dogs are out in the open with their owners, and there's the whole, oh, don't let your dog come over here. Oh, I'm so sorry my dog barked. It's like dogs bark. I'm so sorry my dog shit in your lawn. Well, dogs do that. Now pick it up. And so it's almost like there's this whole subculture. Like, I'm a dog mom. I'm a this, and that to me is kind of like, I get it. It's human. It's what we do. But that to me is kind of complex because it's become this whole thing. Does that make sense?
It does. It's interesting. I wanted to look this up real quick. In this year, 2026, they're expecting total pet related spending in the United States of $157 billion just in the United States. And billion. And that is that's up quite a bit. In 2016, it was 60 billion. So it's gone up $100 billion in 10 years.
Phyllis, you're on the spot. Why?
I don't know, because we don't buy Finn that much stuff. I mean, the truth, like he doesn't.
That's true. I was just there, and it's like he's got his one or two toys. And that's
right. Well, he's got a basket of toys, but they're all old. Like, because he loves toys. So, you go to Costco and you get like the thing that has like 5 toys, and until he wears them out, then they become his favorite toys. And then when they get like super stinky and the stuffing is all out, it takes a while. We will refresh the toys. But he doesn't he doesn't wear clothes per se. We've had the same he has had the same collar he had after he got to dog size, because you have the puppy collar different, but like once he became a dog, like from year 1, he's 14 now, same collar. We finally had to break down and get a new harness. Just the other, he had it for like 12 years. We got him a new harness like 2 years ago. When the leash broke, we got him a new leash. I get there's an industry. I'm not criticizing it. I know people love to, dress up their dogs and do all of those things. It's perfectly amazing and great. Like everything else, marketing, keeping up, a trend comes, social media, you're seeing different things all the time. I don't mind sharing this because I totally hear you on animals everywhere. And I really am so sensitive to animals. I love animals, but I think everybody knows Tim and I love to go to the casino from time to time. And when we walk in and we see people with their dogs and strollers on the casino floor, or a dog, what I'm really thinking is that dog does not want to be there. That dog does not want to be. And I know that's my personal judgment. I'm very aware of what I'm saying out loud. But when you take it to the extreme, which I think is the extreme, there's something there that's happening. We would take Finn when he was younger. Yeah, we would take him out. If we went to the beach when we lived in Jackson, we'd stop somewhere on the way home for a sandwich or something. Yeah, we'd take him outside on the picnic tables. He'd sit quietly, eat just, while we ate lunch. But we were never big, we're going to take you to dinner. We're going to do all of those things. I mean, maybe we would with a younger dog. I don't know. But I totally get what you're saying. I don't have a good answer other than it's the times we live in.
I do find it fascinating because in the last 5 years, I have seen so many people bring their pets everywhere. The supermarket. I was at Publix the other day, and somebody had their dog. It wasn't a service dog or anything like that. It was just their dog. And I find that interesting in the sense that there are people out there who are afraid of animals, who don't want to shop at a supermarket in open produce and open this with a pet around. There are people who specifically make choices not to have pets in the home. And so I do find it fascinating that is the new trend, that I can have a pocket pet basically and take it everywhere. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Al.
Go ahead. I mean,
blah, blah.
Oh, you go.
One
Phil.
of you two go.
I don't even know what I was going to say now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so I have I've transitioned over time my theory or my feelings about that. I used to travel extensively, and I don't travel as much anymore, but I did, and it used to bother me when people traveled with their pets. And I don't know why, and I don't have a rationalization for it. The pet didn't bother me. It was just sitting in a little thing underneath it. And then one day, years and years ago, I was like, oh, I wonder if I could take cash with me. It was just automatic, right? And I was like, oh, I'm going to travel with my pet all of a sudden. Um, the pets are companions for people. And I think this goes back to the attachment, but also the identity. Um, Depending on where you are in life, if you have either chosen to leave relationships or maybe relationships have been really difficult for you, a pet provides a hell of a lot better companionship than an AI person, than AI. And I think that given that the pet is well behaved, that the parents, owners are in control of that animal, I have no problem with pets now being out in open public. And I will give Mark the organizations or the locations that do that, they make it very clear, hey, this is a pet friendly space. And there are tons more places that are not pet friendly, pet accessible. And so there's lots. It's not like somebody's limited, and you can't go to, I don't know many grocery stores unless it's an open market where a pet is allowed, because there's just laws around that.
I saw it at Publix the other day.
But that had to have been a guide dog. I mean, maybe we should check this out, but that had to have been a service dog, because I know that
they had no markings, no vest, no nothing that identified it as a service dog. It was just a dog.
Yeah.
I feel like some of this is just, and like this is a very blanketed statement, it's just the times we're living in, and we are all of a particular age. And so for, if it's, I think it's what I said earlier, when I grew up, we had animals. We loved our animals. We opened the door in the morning. The dog went outside. The dog came back. I mean, the one who worried the most was me. Like, I would stand outside calling for the dog. But I mean, you can imagine, you know me well enough to know everybody does now that I would do something like that. But perhaps they were less of the object or less incorporated into our lives the way that they are now. And it was just the norm then.
Do you think do you think it was a COVID thing? Do you think COVID changed any of that?
I imagine there was some influence, because I know at least 5 people who went out and got dogs, and they call them COVID dogs. Like they got dogs during that time. And people, I think that kind of attachment is also very, very real. It's, if you were isolated, even if you were in a family, if you had other people in your house, that became a very different thing. And I do think COVID had some impact on that. And I'll even use me and Tim as an example. For Finn's whole life, when we were in Jack's, even before we were in Jack's, we were out the door at like 7:30. We went to work. If one of us was free at lunch, we might run home and just, say hi and then leave. Wasn't a requirement, by the way. And somebody was usually home, at 5. And then like we went on very long walks, used that time to play with him, all of the things. Now, even for me sometimes, and part of this is his age, but part of it is I can transition at some point in the day if I'm worried about him and come home and work from my home office. I do think like the whole COVID thing, anxiety might be too strong of a word, but maybe change the dynamic about how we see them or feel about them, or put some very like human emotion on them. I'm making some of that up a little bit, but you get what I'm saying. I think it changed the dynamic to a certain degree.
Well, it also changed the structure of work, which impacted the ability to have a pet, right? Like I think about my schedule. I'm, at work, and yes, I have my own company, but I also work for a company now. And eventually, after a period of time, I'll have the opportunity to have a hybrid schedule where a couple of days I can work from home. That's completely changes the dynamics with my dog. He can stay home for 10 hours. He can handle it, but it's not ideally psychologically great for him. He likes to be around. So anyway, I think pet ownership is, and I was trying to find some data, but I don't want to quote anything. Here's just kind of put a bow on this thing. Here's what I think is complex. And this is not unlike other episodes where we've talked about, the complexity of decision making and decision making paralysis, searching on Netflix and did I pick the right one? I think some of that loops into this. What's complex is this artificial, that's very real world we've created to fuel an economy and a socialization that benefits financially around pets. The volume of toys, the volume of dog food, right? The commoditization of freezy items, toys, games that dogs can and cannot play with. The proliferation of a new industry, which is great. Rubber, like literally, rubber had a rebirth when dog toys grew up. Just walk in any store and find a Kong. The core there is rubber, right? And so industries have popped up and economies have grown. But at the end of the day, as an owner, you've now got this commercialization, which is complex in its own right. But we make it complex because we struggle with choices. The second thing that I think has made it complex is this idea that you said, Mark, we can now take our dogs with us. We can show off our dogs. Dogs are a way to have a conversation with people. All those are not right or wrong. For some people, it's a great way to break the ice. I know of a buddy of mine who literally was always a dog lover. He got an extra dog so that the dog could have a playmate, but also it would be easier for him to meet people because he struggled meeting people. He was just an introvert. And
the dog became his wingman.
It's seriously, his first dog had to stay at home because he was not a social dog. All right. But then the other piece is like, we feel attacked, I think sometimes, or we watch these things happen when people don't have dogs that behave well. Like I don't know if this is right or wrong, and I'm going to leave it open for you guys to respond. Like, it pisses me off when somebody brings an uber aggressive dog out in public. I went to the dog park years ago with Checkers. Checkers was this playful, fun thing. And there was this monster dog that was just aggressive as hell and made everybody uncomfortable. And all of us were going, that dude needs to get the F out of here. That's bullshit. Why would you bring your dog here?
I don't think that's any different. This is just like one segment of just like a million. You could replace dog for like a million things. And I don't think the complexity is necessarily the choice. I think the complexity is in, it's like this, it's what we used to call back in the day, keeping up with the Joneses. And so we're in a phase of evolution right now where you see it, you see enough of it, you get enough dosage of it on social media or out in public. You might not even agree with it, but you end up in the swirl of things. And I think there's complexity. I think it goes back to, I do think, Al, it goes back to what you were saying about when we did the complexity of choice. I think, but it's not necessarily in my mind the choice, more toys or take your dog out. I think it's the complexity of how we make those decisions and why are we making those decisions. And that's a generational thing as well, because if you're growing up in this moment in time, you won't know any different.
But I go back to what resonated the most was this complexity of attachment piece that you said. And I think that's really where it all stems from, right? So all these other things are because you are attached. You're going to spend all this money because you're attached to this companion.
For some, it's how you show love. Sure. And so if that's how you show love is buying gifts, you're going to continue. So if you might do that for humans, you might also do that for pets. It could be keeping up with the Joneses. But that also
might be something that you do in general. You might be driving a car you can't afford.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Dressing your dog that in ways that you can't afford.
Yep.
All because it's an image that you have to keep.
That's right.
And I think what resonates with me, and I'll say it, and it's not going to win me any popularity points here, but I've never understood that attachment, and I think it's because of my upbringing, and it just stuck with me. I'm not attached like that, and it's weird and unfortunate because I see other people get enjoyment in ways that I don't feel. I love my cats; they're amazing, but I'm not attached to them like other people are attached to their companions. But there's a story. I've never seen it like I did firsthand when we had the animal hospital, and people would come in with their pet who was ill, and it was just incredible to see the love that people gave back to the animals that loved them. And you mentioned this earlier, Phyllis, on if you hope to be treated the way that you've treated your animals. It was incredible to watch that love and see it at times when, unfortunately, pets had to be put down, or a lot of people can't afford the medication, diabetic cats, or whatever the case may be, and it really is just that complexity of attachment, which is going to drive so much of your relationship. So I don't know. I keep going back to that as when I'm thinking about this show, and what is the complication? What is driving that? And I think it is the connection.
There was a lot you just said that kind of put things in a bow, and Phyllis, it's so wild that this personal conversation you and I had this morning circles around, everything's related back to, what you said, everything doesn't need to be a thing. But also just, we were talking about this relationship and this new relationship. It's like, just be in it. It's been this period of time. Here's what we know. Here's what's simple. If you have a dog and you're attached to that dog, part of that glue is undoubtedly the unconditional love. Human beings, by and large, need to feel loved. It is Maslow's hierarchy of needs sewed into it. This need for purpose, this need for connectivity, and that's what dogs give us. That's why we run or we struggle with dogs that are standoffish. I struggle with cats because I traditionally haven't seen cats that are just lovey, lovey, lovey. I crave that connection. Dogs give that to me, right? And so that unconditional love, that's all you need. That's not complicated, because you're going to, what's complicated is how you manage the schedule. What's complicated, but there's things to do that. But the pet ownership is not complicated. And that's my big takeaway right here. I love Cash. He has my heart, and I'm going to do anything I can. And the more I overthink what's right or wrong for him and what's the right time, and if I have to be home by this time or this or that, logistics be damned. It's part of life, but I'm going to do what I need to do. And so stop overthinking it, Al. It's not complex. You love Cash. You have unconditional love. And I'm now going to build my part of my schedule around him because I made that choice. You made a choice. It's not complicated. That's my takeaway.
Good one.
I might be growing up as a result of you two.
Oh, well, you should stop that.
Did you just mic drop me? Was that or like, are we closing the show on my comment?
I think we're going to close on your comment.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
By the way, do you let Finn drink out of the toilet bowl?
Finn doesn't. He could if he wanted to, but he just doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, he just doesn't. He drinks out of his water bowl.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
These are important questions.
Had we done the roll up, we could have asked these.
I know, and we need to, but we're not going to do it because I want to celebrate the fact that Al got a mic drop.
You did.
You did.
You did. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
You did good. Oh, we were doing so good, Mark.
I know. I thought we were there. Maybe next episode.
Hey, I don't want to bark up the wrong tree here.
Oh, see, you were going to end with a mic drop, and now you're ending with that.
With a dad joke.
Wow.
No, listen. You know what you guys need to do. You need to put me on a leash. I mean.
Oh, it's getting worse.
I know, and I'm looking a little gruff too. I can tell. I need this.
How about this? This is the complexity of toilet paper.
Did you say toilet paper?
Everything complicated. One big medieval mess.
I'm overthinking. I'm